Hello crazy coders, today we will learn some principles regarding naming variables. These clean code principles will make your code more readable, which is one of the most important aspects of coding. So as a code goes, code is read more than it is written, which is true because when you start working as a programmer in any company, there are several thousands of code of the existing product and you have to first understand what the existing code does, and then only you will be able to improve on it. That's where readability comes into picture. So without further ado, let's get started. So whenever you are trying to name a variable, you should ask yourself three questions, which is the variable name clear, is the variable name concise, and is the variable name consistent? So if all these questions get a yes to a variable name, then you should finalize that variable name. So what basically these questions imply, let's go through it. The first question is regarding the clearness of the variable name. So it's very important to understand a variable name without context. So basically here, as you can see, the first principle says that avoid one letter variable names. So as you can see here, a is equal to 10 and x is equal to a string with name does not signify anything. I cannot understand with this line of code that y is a, why it's taking a 10, and y is x, why is it's taking a name. So to understand what these variables are doing, I have to get to know the context. Then that will take a lot more time. So avoid one letter variable names, which actually hinders the clarity of what's happening. Okay. The second principle says avoid short or ambiguous variables and function names, and that's very important because you might say I have not used a single letter variable name, but it's not even beneficial if you are using 3 or 4 letter variable but they are not clear with their functionality. So for example, as you can see here, we have a function name with get user and also search user, but they don't signify like get user by what and search user by what. That may happen. You can search user by many names, and as you can see here, tmp, it doesn't signify anything. In the third point, which is meaningful names for variables and functions, as you can see here, get user by email, search user by email are more clear than this. And yeah, that's the point. You should be clear enough and long enough to make it user understand what's happening with this function or what's happening with this variable, that temp. Okay. And it's that's nice because temp, we know, temporary, right? So that's the number of students. That makes sense rather than this x or any other variable. Okay. Fourth point is replace magic number with name constant. Let me explain what are magic numbers. I have created a program where I explain magic numbers. So here I have created a password variable, and then I'm checking if password length is greater than 7 or not. Okay. So then if it's greater than 7, I am printing error, password cannot be greater than 7 characters. Okay. But this is wrong method because, as I know, I will never understand after some time that why this 7 is happening here. What is this 7? Okay. Only after reading this line I will understand. So that's not good. Okay. So now to improve this, I have made a variable named max password length, that when I try to read this program, I will just read, okay, max password length is 7, and we are checking with the max password length, and if length of password is greater than max password length, which is, I will print the error. Okay. That is very readable compared to this, rather than just saying 7, which doesn't make any sense. But in this case it makes sense because we have already mentioned it as a max password. So magic numbers are this, and you should avoid these magic numbers by specifying a constant with this. Okay, that's good. Moving ahead with the concise part. Concise basically means avoid insanely long variables. Find the shortest way you can get the information across clearly. Okay. One thing to note, it should be clear enough and it should be shortest as well. Okay, you have to find a sweet spot there, short and clear. Okay. As an example here, I have written a variable name which says index of space before 30 chars, which is very long and does not even clarify why we need index. Okay. But in second part here, I have named it line break index, which is better. Now we know why this index is required, which is, it is a line break index. Okay. That's very clear. And when we break line, of course there is a space, and it's short and concise. So that's how one thing to remember. Never miss with anything. Okay, you should be clear, concise and consistent. but instead of making it long, which is also clear, but you should find a way to concise it and make it clear. Okay, initially you may have to spend few seconds or more than few seconds to think of such names, but the more you do, the more faster you get, and after some time it will come natural to you. So always try to actually achieve these conditions before finalizing a variable, because this will help a lot in your professional career. Moving ahead, the third question, which is consistency. So what this basically means, there are a lot of ways or formats which you can name variable, which is camel case, Pascal case, snake case, hyphen case, or Hungarian notation. But most important thing is you have to understand what format they are using in the existing code, or if you are creating a new project from scratch, you have to choose which type of case you will use throughout the code, because this will help us to actually have a visually clear code. Okay, so now if you see here, camel case is basically which is like this. First word will be small, and apart from the apart from the first word, all other words will have a capital letter in the beginning. And Pascal case is basically every word first letter will be capital. And snake case is very similar to this. You have a line, basically you have a word, then underscore, and then other words. So this will help you in actually naming your multi words variable very precisely, and actually it makes it look good. So hyphen case is also followed, but the most popular are camel case and snake case. And one more actually format I have found on the internet is Hungarian notation as well, which basically says first you mention the data type, which is boolean for b, then ch, if you want count of items, then you use c, and then the name of the variables. Okay, so that is, I think, the least followed, but yeah, it's used, you should know. But yeah, that was it. Basically the three things you have to note is clear, concise, and consistent. Avoid one letter variables, avoid short or ambiguous variable and function names. Basically you should never name a variable which is not clear on by its own. Okay, neither a function. Okay, and replace magic number, never use numbers in a code. Basically always mention what it is, always first create basically what it is, and then use the variable in there so that it's very readable. And the concise part is very simple. You may be clear with a long and also a short variable name, but use the short one if it's happening. Okay, and consistency is basically following the format whatever the company has in their code base, or if you are creating, then choose one and follow it. Okay, and now I will just show some of more examples which I have done mistakes in my past while making projects. This is one of our binary search video which is available on YouTube, and here as you can see, I made a very fatal mistake here naming this item, it should name like, I don't get it like what is item, but as I have created a comment which we gonna talk about in the second part. But the most important thing is you should name it better, like search item or something, and then use like first index or last index. That's better. And I have used magic numbers here, as you can see. Instead of first making this a variable name into search item is equal to 4, I have used number directly, which is very bad. And the second example is, which is a custom password generator. The first thing I would like to point out is this ambiguous function name. Custom pass, that does not actually signify what it's doing. It's actually creating a custom password. So I think generate or create should be add a better name. And then again I have made a mistake of naming it a variable with one letter, which is very bad. I should have used it I should have given the constants, which is capital letters, or some like alphabets in capital numbers. That's better instead of this. When code gets long and long, and when there are interrelatable functions, it's very important to have a readable code. Okay, so I think that was it from this video. Thank you for watching, and we will catch you up in the next video.